its current form?
No, it's not. So we're going to be waiting for an amendment. They're working on it. We have, I think
you filed
we
it.
filed an amendment. So we're drafting it right now. So we're going to bring it back. But again, that's sort of the intent to remove the opposition
Okay.
as we're kind of seeing
So,
today.
so what is their opposition?
I think it's sort of clarifying exactly what like these levels are. And I think that there was some misunderstanding. Is that basically how you would characterize it? If you want to answer that too.
And I think that the question and the opposition, from what I understand, I don't want to speak for them in terms of what the opposition is, but I do have I've had many conversations with these organizations, is the confusion is, will there be an issue with hiring? Will there be any impact in terms of which teachers can work with which students? They're worried about any potential impact. And so that's where we've said we're working with ISB to think through that as well.
Okay. So if they take the course at the college and they graduate, what is their level of proficiency? Would they have that certification or endorsement, or where does that fall at?
So we require a level 1 for any of our graduates to move on to student teaching. That's kind of the base level of competence that we want all of our graduates to have. That's what currently happens within our program. And so the difference would be that students could graduate with that level 1 on the assessment. They just would not be able to add this additional endorsement stating that they are proficient in American Sign Language unless they score a 3. So right now that doesn't change our program. It just changes the clarity of their skills that they're bringing forward into the teaching field.
Okay, all right. So I had somebody reach out to me right before this year, so I'm gonna be down on this until we get this cleaned up. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, the amendment will be coming next week.
All right,
Thank
thanks.
you. Thank you so much for your questions.
Okay, there being no further questions, no further debate, Representative Moeller moves that House Bill 4423 do pass. Is there leave? Okay, partisan leave with a vote of 6-3. 6 voting yes, 3 voting no. House Bill 4423 is declared passed and will be favorably reported to the House floor. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, the chair recognizes Representative Crawford to present House Committee Amendment Number 1 to House Bill 4068. Representative Moeller moves to adopt to Committee Amendment 1 to House Bill 4068. All those in favor say aye, opposed say nay. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the amendment is adopted. So the chair recognizes Representative Crawford to present House Bill 4068 as amended.
Thank you, Chair Scherer, and I apologize, I'm out of breath. Being in 3 places at once will do that to you. House Bill 4068 as amendment is focused on improving clarity and consistency in how schools respond to requests for Section 504 accommodations. Today, there's no clearly defined timeline of when a school district must respond to after a parent makes a request. As a result, practices can vary widely, and in some cases, families may wait longer than expected just to understand the next steps. This bill establishes a reasonable framework within 14 school days. A district will determine whether or not information provided supports the need for a plan, whether additional evaluation is appropriate, or whether there is not a basis to proceed, along with a written explanation. This bill does not require a full evaluation to be completed within 14 days. Rather, it ensures that there's a timely response and a clear path forward for families and schools alike. The bill as amended adds an important provision related to student health and safety when a child has documentation from a licensed health provider indicative of a potential medical risk. The school will meet with the family within 5 days to consider an individualized health care plan, helping ensure that urgent needs are addressed promptly. Ultimately, this bill is about setting a clear and reasonable expectation, improving communication, and ensuring that students receive attention in a timely manner while maintaining flexibility for school districts. With me is Barb Cohen with the Legal Counsel for Health Justice for testimony.
Okay, you may proceed. Just a brief.
I'm Barb Cohen.
Summary.
With the Legal Counsel for Health Justice. We're asking that the bill be held on second because we're working through some of the language with IASB, and we are hopeful that we'll get that done in the next few days and be able to file a second amendment. I'm happy to answer questions.
Okay, and for the witness slips, on the original bill, we have 25 proponents, 4 opponents, and on the amendment, there's 40 proponents and no opponents. Are there questions? Okay, Representative Freeze.
Yeah, so what amendments are we looking at? What's that?
Oh, well,
Subject.
there's the amendment that's filed, and the amendment to the amendment takes out a little bit of redundant language. So we have the word licensed professionals, and changes that. And it also clarifies that that you have these 3 options, which are consistent with what happens with an IEP, where you can say, we're not going to give your kid a 504, and we already know that for sure. And if you do that, you have to say so in 14 school days in writing, again, consistent with IEPs. You can say, we don't know, so we need to do an evaluation, and you have to have that meeting in 14 school days, same as with IEPs. Or you could say, sure, we'll just create a 504 plan, and you have to put that in writing in 14 days. There was a feeling by IASB that it wasn't clear how that timeline was working.
Okay, so the reason, my wife's a teacher, and I reach out to her on this subject. She said they actually do theirs within 14 days, and then 45 days, they actually have to make that determination.
Oh, that's great. This doesn't
so-
even say that.
Okay, so I was just curious of where this come from, because you said there's nothing
There,
unless it's district by district. I was just
it
curious.
is.
There's no rule that you have to, I mean, I'm happy that your wife is in a district where that's the rule, but there is no rule. There's no rule federally, and there's no rule at the state level.
Okay, so I was looking over the statute as written. As I understand it, you can make that request, and then they can come back within that 14-day period and say, well, we need more information.
Exactly.
And I mean, can that go on indefinitely, or are you looking for
Well, with an IEP, it cannot go on indefinitely.
Right,
It
but we're
can-
talking about a
but
504
For a
here.
504, the way we've written the bill intentionally is that it could theoretically go on indefinitely. Federal regulations say you must do it in a reasonable amount of time. So it has to be reasonable. That's already,
Yeah, you tell me what that means, and
yeah, exactly. I assume that's sarcastic.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But our feeling was that at least our experience around the state with IEP plans is that schools have 60 school days to evaluate, and they take 60 school days to evaluate. A lot of the time with 504 plans, this happens pretty quickly. They don't need all that time. And so we were worried if we say 60 school days, they'll take 60 school days, even if it's something like we need to get a 504 plan for a kid who has asthma and needs to have, access to an inhaler, or.
So
or
I just,
that's
not sure,
it.
so let's see, I'm supportive of this. I think it's a good idea. But I'll wait until we get the final language on whatever that next amendment's going to look like.
Thank you.
And I'll bring that back as soon as we get it.
Are there any further questions? Okay, seeing no further questions, no further debate? Okay, is there leave? Okay, so there being no further debate, Representative Yang Rohr moves that House Bill 4068 do pass as amended. And there is leave, so leave being granted on a vote of 9 in favor, 0 opposed. House Bill 4068 is declared passed as amended and will be favorably reported to the House floor. Thank you.
Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you.
Okay, Representative Yang Rohr, we're going to have you go ahead and present because we have one more bill with Representative Hirschauer, but she's trying to get here from another committee. So Representative Yang Rohr, if you would go ahead and present House Bill 4859.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May I have leave to present from my chair?
Yes, you may. And on the witness slips, we have 000, no proponents, no opponents.
All right, thank you. House Bill 4859 is a food waste and sharing table bill. In our schools, we and students can potentially generate a significant amount of food waste with unopened and often untouched items, often being discarded rather than consumed. And currently, school districts are already required to incorporate a food sharing plan for unused food. House Bill 4859 just gives them one more option by adding sharing tables as an option to comply with this requirement. So this can be like a table, a cart, a bin, or something similar where students may place whole, unopened food or beverage items for another student to take at no cost to the student. This is a method that the USDA endorses. They encourage the use of sharing tables as safe and effective methods to redistribute food, to help keep food out of landfills, and to help combat food insecurity. And so I ask for the committee's support in this bill.
Are there any questions? Representative Freeze.
Yeah, so if you could, and I wasn't familiar with this program, so you have a potential for a kid goes through the line, they get a tray full of food, and if it's wrapped up, and it'll go on a table or a cart?
Yeah, so where this would probably most often happen is with our federal food lunch programs, where you are required to take like certain items, like an apple. Like you must take that apple to get reimbursed. But a lot of times, if a child does not want that apple, they'll just throw it in the trash. This program basically allows them to just put it on the table and say, I will take it so that the school can get that reimbursement, but they're not going to eat it and it doesn't have to go into the trash. And another student can take it. And so the guidelines for these tables are, again, like whole, intact foods, so like a banana, an apple, or like a non-perishable, factory sealed item. So that's probably the most basic type of food sharing table. It can get more elaborate. There's no requirement for it to do so. One of the ways that schools outside of Illinois or even in Illinois sometimes we'll do this is with like milk. So in particular milk cartons. I think the statistic is that, for a given student in a school, about 29 milk cartons are thrown away each year because they have to take that milk. And so, if a food table is set up with the appropriate like refrigeration requirements, they can collect that milk again and it doesn't have to go into the trash.
So it's permissive, not mandatory, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
And the degree of, how elaborate that food sharing table can be is also, up to the school. So they don't have to take that milk and have that kind of refrigerated component if they're not equipped for that.
Okay, so what happens, the food is placed on a table, and then everybody leaves the lunchroom. What do you anticipate happening with that food at that point?
Well, it is available for other students to take. So that's one way that it is used often. Some schools use it as a way to essentially, take that, if it's like that unopened milk carton in that refrigerated space, like they can essentially put it back into circulation, right? Like they can just use it the next day if it still meets like all the food safety expiration requirements. Some schools will donate that food to a food pantry if students don't take it. So, there are actually a lot of options that you can do with it.
Okay, thanks.
Are there any further questions? Okay, seeing no further questions, no further debate, Representative Moeller moves that House Bill number 4859 do pass. Is there leave on this one? Yes. Okay, leave being granted on a vote of 9 in favor, 0 opposed. House Bill 4859 is declared passed and will be favorably reported to the House floor. Okay, we're going to have to be at ease for just a minute. We have one bill left, and she is on her way. So, sorry, we'll just have to be at ease for a minute. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move Rep. Hershower's bill to next week. She's still in committee and can't get over here. That's what she just told me. So there being no further business, the House Elementary, Secondary Ed Administration Licensing Charter Schools Committee shall recess to the call of the chair. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for your patience.
can't even see myself. I need to sit up? I think there's something wrong with the camera. Hold on, I gotta.
We need the spokesperson to start real quick. I think so. Okay.
Chair won't lift up. Yeah, that's better. We're just waiting on one more member. Okay, we appreciate you. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. The hour 4 o'clock having come and gone, the House Appropriations, Public Safety, and Infrastructure Committee shall come to order. We have no replacement letters. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Mayfield,
Present.
Hernandez. Here. Cabello. Here. Bunting. Canty. Here. Davis. Deuter. Here. Harper. Here. Lilly. Morris. Here. Tipsord. Weaver.
Representing the Grand Old Party. Is here.
Okay, we have 8 members present. However, we do not require a quorum because it is subject matter only. Today, I just want to give you guys a rundown. Let's see. We're going to do subject matter on House Bill 5649, the Illinois State Police, House Bill 5676, the Illinois Emergency Management Agency and Office of Homeland Security, Illinois Law Enforcement Alarm System, ILEAS, and MABUS, the Mutual Aid Box Alarm System, House Bill 4649, House Bill 5678, and we will have a brief discussion on House Bill 4144, even though it's not posted. We will still have a conversation on that. With that, we're going to ask the Illinois Law Enforcement Alarm System, ILEAS, and the Mutual Aid Box Alarm System, MABUS, to please come up to the podium there. I don't know if we want to take them one. Do we want to do ILEAS first and then MABUS? Let's do ILEAS first, just because there's not a lot of seats in here. And I do apologize for the small room. We requested C1, which is where we normally are, which would have given us a little bit more. So I have Larry Evans, the Executive Director, and Brian Seraphin, his Chief of Staff. Please state your name for the record, and you may proceed.
Good afternoon. My name is John Milner, and I'm the lobbyist for this group. I used to be a member, and I used to sit on this committee and enjoyed it. It's like one of my favorite committees. But today I would like to tell you a little bit. No, I don't think so. So I would like to share information about ILEAS. It's kind of an interesting name, but it was formed in 2003 pursuant to the Illinois Intergovernmental Cooperation Act. But here's the thing that many of you don't know, and it's, what do we do? Well, anytime there's anything that's happening throughout the state of Illinois, any type of a emergency, whether it's a tornado. Yesterday I was talking to the Highland Park Police Chief, and he said, I told him I was going to be here today and talk about this. He says, oh my God, he said, ILEAS was a game changer. Remember they had that parade and all those, that guy started shooting all the people, remember the parade? ILEAS was there on the ground for how long?
6 days.
Yeah, 6 days. And then things like the Chicago Cubs win, and they have a parade, and Chicago police call, and they say, we need help, we need more people. And then we'll send over 100 people for the parade. The DNC in Chicago needed a lot of people there, a lot of ILEAS folks. They were there. We even did the RNC up in Milwaukee. So we're doing these things routinely, continually, and it doesn't cost these taxpayers, the state of Illinois taxpayers, any money. So we have 34,000 officers throughout the state of Illinois, all 102 counties. Any emergency, whether it's a tornado, it doesn't matter what it is, one phone call brings these guys out. And we can't afford to lose it, because right now, as you know, what's happening in Washington, D.C., who knows if we're going to get money. This probably should be state-funded anyway. And the state should look at doing this. And we're not funding 38,000 people. The local municipalities are doing all that. They're paying for their own officers. We just have the infrastructure in place for training and other things. And these people that I'm with right now, Larry Evans is the director, and Brian Serafin is the chief of staff. And they'll answer any questions you may have, and hopefully they'll highlight more than I just did. So,
My name is Larry Evans. I'm sorry. This right here. There we go. My name is Larry Evans. I'm the executive director for ILEAS, and joining me is Brian Serafin, my chief of staff. ILEAS was born post 9/11 during the realization that no agency, regardless of its size, can possibly handle every circumstance that they're faced with, and that during the middle of a crisis is not the time to realize that you need to coordinate mutual aid and worry about what the costs will be, whether or not you'll be able to interact with each other. ILEAS provides the infrastructure necessary for any agency in the state of Illinois, regardless of size, to pick up the phone and call a single phone number and ask, I need 50 officers, I need aircraft support, I need to bring in specialized equipment, I need a person that speaks a unique language. Whatever the requests are, they're able to call us. Instead of sitting down and trying to call each agency individually, we provide the infrastructure that brings all of that together and then make sure that during any kind of reimbursements or any other kind of coordination that's necessary between these law enforcement agencies and the state of Illinois through IEMA, OHS, we handle all of that as a single point of contact for the state of Illinois. So as John has mentioned, some of our larger deployments have included Katrina, Sandy. We did send 253 officers to Chicago during the DNC. We sent 200 officers along with Chicago Police Department to the RNC. We sent 239 officers to Highland Park for a 6-day deployment. These are all things that once the agencies responded to this call for help, they did so knowing that I will help you today because someday you will help me. They respond knowing that there's no reimbursement guaranteed. Their agencies bear those costs because sooner or later it's going to be them that reaches out for help. And the last thing you need to worry about when there is a major crisis is, can I afford to ask for help? We have solved all of those issues. Our grants cover 5 different categories to include planning, training. We sponsor 10 mobile field forces across the state of Illinois. We sponsor 5 WMD-SRT teams in support of the Illinois State Police teams across the state of Illinois. And we also help coordinate EOD efforts across the state. What this means is after 9/11, when the federal government was pouring money into Homeland Security and places just did not know how to respond to it and sent it out to their larger agencies, Illinois did the right thing and created ILEAS. They committed heavily to MABUS so that every agency in Illinois has the exact same access to the exact same equipment. If you're in Cairo and you need a box truck, you need a Bearcat, you need anything, it will come. ILEAS will make sure that you have it. Every one of you sitting in this room represents a district that I could tell you how ILEAS has responded to come to your aid over the 22 years that we've been in existence. The value that we provide far exceeds the cost of operating our system. If the state of Illinois had to duplicate the efforts that we provide on a daily basis, the cost would be much greater. If you haven't already, can't tell, I have drank the ILEAS Kool-Aid. I came from Centralia, which is located in 4 counties, 3 state police districts at the time, and 3 different judicial districts. I always called myself coming from the island of misfit toys. If anyone needed to be able to reach out for mutual aid, it was my department. I've been involved with ILEAS since the beginning. I could talk endlessly, but I see a room of people back here. So let me fast forward, remind you that I've provided some talking points for you as well as our flyer, and let me answer any questions that any of you have about the value that ILEAS provides.
Thank you so much. Are there members with questions? Representative Canny.
Recording in progress.
I didn't do that. Thank you so much for being here. Could you share a little bit with the committee about your funding? How much funding it takes to run your operations? Where does it come from? And how do you work money-wise?
Yes, ma'am. Since the beginning in 2003, we have relied 100% on federal grant funding through the Homeland Security Grant Program of FEMA. Illinois, during the earlier years, relied solely on grant funding from the federal government. That's where everything happened, was through the federal government. In 2019, the state of Illinois began to recognize a need to try to make up for some of the funding that was being reduced from the federal government, and the state of Illinois has done a remarkable job in supporting the PAR grant that is administered by IEMA OHS, who then uses it to help agencies that fall under that purview make up funding losses through the federal government. So it's approximately, and I have a budget from the very beginning where we peaked out at $21 million a year to where we have now fallen below $5 million a year to try to do the exact same things. Again, shortfalls were made up using PAR grant funds, and we've gotten tremendous support from the state of Illinois and our state police and IEMA partners. As the federal grant funding falls below that level, we're in serious risk of this 22-year program falling to the wayside or becoming unrecognizable in its current form. It takes approximately $7 to $8 million to operate ILEAS in its current format, and that would include the federal grant money that we have received combined with the state money that we have been receiving, anywhere from $1.5 to $2 million, totaling approximately $7.5 to $8 million total.
Thank you. And I know the folks from MABUS are going to come up and talk in a little bit, but I had the opportunity to go and tour a MABUS facility and see some of the equipment and learn a little bit about how it works. Is this in existence for ILEAS as well?
Actually, we have a bit of a different model. Because of the specialization that goes along with a lot of the equipment that I'm sure you saw at the Wheeling facility when you toured MABUS. It's impressive, isn't it? You just want to play with it all. ILEAS has a bit of a different model because we sponsor teams that range from the far north to the far south. We take equipment that we use and that we buy using Homeland Security, and we actually give it to agencies, staging it across the entire state. So there is no singular warehouse of a bunch of cool police stuff. Instead, there's cool police stuff everywhere in the state so that it can respond to any kind of call to action much quicker than being centrally located, which works for their type of equipment. For our type of equipment, we give it to the agencies. We feel like the best way to use any kind of taxpayer grant money is to create a system where everyone can share, as opposed to each of these larger departments. I have one, and you have one, and you have one, you have one, and next thing you know, everybody wants one. Instead, let's buy fewer and share them. And that's what we make sure happens.
And then how do your deployments work? If somebody reaches out and says, Ilias, we need your help, we have this major event, where do your people come from?
Mutual aid happens within police departments all day long. This department joins that department and something's going on and I'll come help you and you help me. But when something larger happens that exceeds your capabilities as an agency or even a region, you have the ability to call a single phone number that's posted in your dispatch center that goes to Arlington Heights, where we have Northwest Central Dispatch. Specially trained telecommunicators will take your call, take your information. What's the problem? What do you need? Click. And then you go and start working your problem. Meanwhile, those telecommunicators have specialized individual computer programs that allow them to search for resources in a concentric ring circle outward from the point of the problem, and they start reaching out to those agencies individually. Agency ABC needs 5 officers. How many can you send? 3? Good. Click. Next agency. They need 2 until they get your request filled. And once all of those assets are on the way, they arrive at your staging area. You are still in command of your problem. It's just that whatever you asked for as far as a resource now becomes available for your use. That is the most simplistic kind of mutual aid. It's called a CAR plan, call and respond. We also sponsor mobile field forces, which draw on officers throughout the state that come together in teams, anywhere from 35 to 45 members per team, 10 of these across the state to include NIPUS. And when you have a large, really large scale problem, you can actually request mobile field forces that will send 40 to 50 uniform officers and almost become a miniature police department to relieve your officers and work in that disaster zone. Also, what makes it so beneficial is that because all of our officers attend the exact same training in a single centralized location, I can take 5 from your team and 10 from your team and 8 from your team, and all of them are likewise uniformed. They all have the ability to communicate because they all have the same radio communication gear. They all have the same training, and they all understand the command structure. And now have a much larger force made up of smaller pieces that enables us to put together responses of 250 officers, of 200 officers in these last couple of deployments.
The average salaries have increased by $5,000 for collective bargaining unit employees and $8,000 for merit compensation employees. What is that percentage of increase? And can you provide the jobs breakdown on the increases?
Yeah. Ma'am, would it be permissible to provide that information back to you and the members of the committee at a later time?
That'll be fine.
Thank you, Leader.
Okay, so can you speak to the request from, what was it, Mavis, and I forgot the other one just that quick. Ilias, thank you, and Mavis. So they're asking for $8.5 million each, total $17 million, and they're asking it from IEMA. Can you please speak to that?
Yes, ma'am. First, please allow me to express my sincere appreciation for the work that they do. As our state's mutual aid network partners, they are essential here in Illinois in terms of providing first responders on the ground on a daily basis. And also during a time of significant crisis, they become what's known as a mobile support team under the IEMA Act, a recognition that they essentially are deployed at our request under the governor's orders to go to places like Texas and provide life-saving, urgent assistance and support. That said, we also recognize that this is an important time to open a conversation around the dollars that do in fact support their work. As mentioned earlier, their operations have long been funded out of pass-through federal grant dollars and a small amount from some state dollars, but across several different grant programs. And so while we certainly support their mission and recognize their criticality, we do have concerns with the bill because it does not identify a funding source. And because of the criticality of their work and our commitment in that partnership, we are committed to continuing that discussion with them. It is important, and as also indicated, we recognize that our analysis indicates state fiscal year 28 is in fact when our concern is going to be more significant because they do have open pending grant cycles funding their work in our proposed fiscal year 27 budget. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that explanation. I definitely appreciate it. With that, are there other members seeking? Okay, Leader Davis.
Director, good to see you.
Good to see you, sir.
It seems like in not only this appropriate committee and a few others, we seem to be hearing kind of a reoccurring conversation that budgets statewide or in the state of Illinois are being reduced due to reductions of federal funds that are not coming to the state in a way that they have been in the past. Does that seem to be in your situation as well?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So, how do I want to say this? I mean, for me, it kind of makes the case why we need to be talking about revenue enhancements. But there are some that would argue that the state's budget is too big. You know, we're consistently growing, getting bigger. But when lack of growth means that organizations like yours can't provide the type of services that we expect, is it safe to say that, again, the challenge that you are going to face budgetary-wise is, and again, not to examine why the federal dollars are being cut. I think we, maybe understand based on what we hear and who you listen to. But I mean, I guess I'm asking you to underscore the importance of the work that you do and why being able to have these dollars at the levels in which you had them are important.
Yeah. Thank you for that comment and question, sir. As I arrive as the acting director here at IEMA OHS, I recognize 3 priorities that I know are my obligation to both advocate for and ensure that voice is given to their criticality. It is first to recognize that stabilizing our federal financial risk for our programs that are funded through FEMA and our capabilities, that stabilizing that risk to ensure mission critical operations continue, that is our highest priority. Second, it's to build a team here at IEMA OHS, a leadership team to help reimagine our mission, our vision, and our work. And third, it is to realign the vision of our work to meet these new obligations, not based on the last 20 years, but to look forward to the next 20 years, how risk is changing and how our capabilities and capacity must rise and expand to meet that evolving risk.
I appreciate that. I mean, clearly we're going to have to make some decisions here in the state, not only for, say, organizations like yours, but, I mean, pick an agency in the state, and we're going to have to make some critical decisions. So thank you for your response to that. Another question, are all of your staff located in Springfield? Based in Springfield? Maybe that's a better way to say it.
No, sir, but it is worth noting that roughly 80% of our current workforce is based in Springfield. If I may expand on that, we recognize the criticality of operating the state's Emergency Operations Center, and there are, in fact, some in-person activities in Springfield. Our home base for our Office of Nuclear Safety is also here in Springfield. And we recognize the future of our work, certainly lessons learned from COVID and beyond, is to ensure that we embrace new ways to meet our mission and our obligations. It's to recognize that there are technology tools available to us and that our work will look different into the future. And so I'm very open and interested to better understand ultimately where our workforce should be to ensure that we're meeting all the residents' needs across the entire state. And we're looking forward to having those conversations in the months and years ahead.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
How much of your, I guess you could look at even the current budget cycle that we're in, maybe even the past completed budget cycle, how much of your budget is dedicated toward contracting?
I'll yield over to Carl for a specific number here.
Yeah, we're at about $5 million or so in contracting.
$5 million in outside contracting.
Outside contract? Or
Well,
just,
I guess I mean, agencies contract services and a wide variety of things. I'm just wondering, and sometimes when they put their budgets together, they determine that this is how much we're going to set aside for contracting. So whether that's services, maybe you're not building anything, so maybe we're not talking about capital, but are you procuring things?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
For example, we're looking at the remote monitoring systems and upgrading those throughout the state for the nuclear power plants.
Could you speak more into the mic? I'm sorry.
Oh, I apologize, sir. For example, one contract we're looking at that's in the budget requested for remote monitoring systems throughout the state to upgrade those at the nuclear power plants.
Okay.
And, sir, if I could also add, in the past year, certainly the disaster response cycle does inform the need for bringing contracts to bear, and we did not have a significant need most recently to bring on additional contractors, so our spend was less than typical.
Okay. And I guess I relate that to, I remember back in COVID, IEMA did a lot of contracting. It was PPE, stuff like that. You did quite a bit of contracting. So again, I'm just trying to understand, and I know that walk is different because you don't need as much of that anymore, but just trying to understand what your contracting needs are.
Yeah, and it depends, like, I think that, let me just pull out one sheet, I apologize. Sorry, apologies.
If it's okay with you, sir, would you be interested if we could get back to you with more specific details and through the chair to all the members?
Absolutely.
Thanks, sir.
It's just a question that's out there. Also something that I pay particular attention to and question when I have the opportunity in terms of the personnel. My interpretation of at least what's reported here in terms of particularly African-American personnel compared to your entire staff is small. So what might be some of the challenges with trying to bring on African-Americans in particular in your agency?
Yeah, thank you for that. So, Representative, our diversity representation is woefully inadequate and deeply concerning to me. We must reflect the diversity of our state, and I'm committed to that as director. I recognize that at this moment in time, as per my earlier conversation, as we reimagine our work and we reconsider the ways that we fund it, we also will reconsider how to deploy this workforce. We also want to recognize that emergency management as a discipline, it has been a hard several years. There's no disputing it since COVID. Our state has been stricken by several back-to-back major disaster events. And so our commitment from our staff is not one of a 9 to 5 agency. It is nights and weekends, and of course, as we experienced last week, and we continue to have staff supporting Kankakee County. That being said, this is an opportunity for us. It is an opportunity for us to reimagine, re-envision, and also pursue new strategies to both recruit and retain talent. And so I don't yet have those answers, sir, but I'm absolutely here to have those conversations. And I will also highlight that we've had an opportunity to, as you and I have discussed, to build out our Chicago office presence. And I know that that's going to be another opportunity to recruit candidate pools and move our work to other locations across the state in an effective way.
And I certainly appreciate that, and I know sometimes that's a question that the chair asked on the onset, so I wasn't, I don't think she asked that question in particular. Does the work that you, and when I'm talking about staff, I'm talking about across the board. So how many open positions do you have right now that you're trying to fill?
I believe we have 41 vacant positions. We have roughly 15. Yeah. If I may get back to you on that specific item, I do want to offer, again, in this moment, an opportunity to realign and re-envision. There are some positions within our headcount that we absolutely intend to fill, but we are in fact revisiting those job descriptions and ways to enhance that work and be certain that that's in fact how we will deploy those colleagues, those positions when filled. So we have every intention of moving forward with all of our positions, and our budget request does include an increase of 10. Because we also believe that the positions that we're requesting do in fact address areas of significant need for the future of our work.
Thank you. So I know there are a couple of things you're going to respond to, so I'll stop. Thank you very much, Director.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Anyone else with a question? Leader Cabello.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's not a question. I just want to say thanks for you and your team for coming in to meet with us on our side of the aisle. And answering our questions. You guys are always available to us, and we appreciate that immensely. And it's always good to, no offense to anybody, but good to see Victor as well.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I believe that addresses all of our questions. I appreciate your time.
Thanks so much.
Okay, and then we will be moving on to our final agency of the day, Illinois State Police. Please come on up, state your name for the record, and, oh, they're not even here in the room.
They're right outside.
Okay. Oh, goodness. Please proceed, state your name for the record.
Good evening. Brendan Kelly, Illinois State Police.
Michelle Dankowski, Illinois State Police.
Yeah, you might have to pull it down a little.
Sorry. Michelle Dankowski, Illinois State Police.
May I proceed, Madam Chairman? Okay, thank you.
All right, good evening, Chairperson Mayfield, Vice Chair, Minority Spokesperson, members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. This is my seventh House Appropriations hearing, and looking forward to discussing our budget, telling you about the incredible work being done by our outstanding troopers, our special agents, our forensic scientists, our telecommunicators, and the staff of the Illinois State Police. Since 2019, following previous years of some unstable budgets and not a lot of strategic planning, the ISP has helped to rebuild and renew our organization through some difficult times, and we've steadily advanced our values of the agency of fighting crime, protecting public safety, and pursuing justice for the people of Illinois. Just a few things to highlight from the various divisions of the ISP. Within Division of Justice Services, the FOID system has undergone significant modernization, and the FOID backlog has been eliminated. In January of this year, the average processing time for a new FOID application was just 14 days, and that's well below the 30-day statutory mandate. Within the Division of Forensic Services, the sex assault kit mandated testing time backlog was eliminated, and now 100% of our sexual assault kits are processed within the statutory requirements. In fiscal year 25, the Illinois State Police Laboratory System completed analysis on over 65,000 investigative assignments. Within 911, in addition to the outstanding professional work being done by our telecommunicators, the division wisely and diligently distributed $4.9 million to local authorities in grant funding for Next Gen 911. Within the Academy, I'm very glad to have administered the oath to Cadet Class 151, and I'll have more cadet classes coming up, and I've been very glad to have 713 new troopers since 2019. This year, the Illinois State Police Cadet Class basic training will be expanded from 27 weeks to 30 weeks. And that's setting a trend for other law enforcement agencies across the country who are also increasing the length of their academy. Within patrol, our troopers have truly hit their stride in the fight against crime. In the past 4 years alone, interstate shootings have decreased by 80%. And incredibly, not one person lost their life to gun violence on Illinois interstates in 2025. Within criminal investigations, our special agents are proving the exceptionalism of the ISP around the state every day. We've just this past year distributed nearly $2.5 million in grants to local law enforcement for firearms enforcement. And from 2020 to 25, our public safety enforcement group, which is our urban policing model, they were successful in bringing down homicides in that area down 56% and non-fatal shootings down 61%. And for the first time ever, they cleared 100% of those homicides in a year in that case. And it's a 45-year low in homicides in that area, in that region. Last year, the General Assembly and the governors passed and signed an ISP-led comprehensive approach to combating human trafficking, and national advocates moved our state's grade from an F to an A. So that's a positive thing in terms of human trafficking, though there was definitely work to be done. So while all divisions are all making advances on many fronts, we continue to address some of the agency-wide longer-term priorities. And with stable funding and planning, we're tackling one by one some of those long-standing historic issues, audit findings, some that are inherent to the agency, but some which are tied to broader systemic state issues. And I'm pleased to report that we've steadily confronted the basis of these findings. When we have less in the most recent cycle than the previous cycle, and about 75% as of this week of the corrective actions identified in June 2025's audit have already been completed. So we're moving in a good direction there. More work to do, but moving in a good direction. And lastly, I'm personally grateful to each member of this committee for the support that you have shown to the Illinois State Police when we've had so many of our officers hurt from Scots Law-related crashes, hurt or killed. As well as during those difficult moments when we've had those line-of-duty deaths. It is definitely noticed and felt and appreciated by the ISP, the outreach and support from all of you. So thanks to the essential foundation of stable funding and some good, clear direction, your Illinois State Police are fully engaged in fighting crime, protecting public safety, and pursuing justice on behalf of the people of Illinois. So appreciate the time to be here today and talk with you and answer as many questions as we can. I know it's late in the day, but we are here and we're ready. So thank you.
All right, do we have members seeking recognition? Leader Davis.
So in our analysis, Director, we have a section called agency issues. And number one in that is agency legislation with a budget impact. One thing they point out is that you are seeking, or assume you, but agencies are just seeking a lab procurement exemption. exempt certain laboratory procurement activities from the normal procurement rules under the procurement code. After state agencies have gone through all available master contracts and cooperative agreements. Help me to understand why you need an exemption.
So the work of forensics depends certainly on the discipline, whether it's DNA, whether it's firearms, latent prints, drug chemistry, drug toxicology. It's very specialized, and the process of buying the commodities that you need for that and the hardware that you need for that sometimes requires a certain specialized approach to it. And just candidly, the procurement process that we have, that's a very general procurement set of rules that's supposed to apply to all agencies. It is very difficult for us to be able to move those things on a timely basis. And we are competing with other labs across the country for the commodities, meaning like the stuff you need to do the test, you know, the chemicals, the other materials that you need to be able to do those forensic tests, and the ability to move quickly and identify new types of technology that have emerged. The forensic sciences it's crazy how fast it changes and it's moving every day. And the special understanding of the technical aspects of the type of equipment we need for rapid DNA or the changing techniques that may require some different piece of technology, and now we're looking at AI and those sort of things, our current procurement process is not well suited to a laboratory that is doing cutting edge science. And I think it's not just the Illinois State Police. I think there are other laboratory systems, public health, and others that are seeking similar type of flexibility.
Well, I hope you can appreciate the reason why I would be concerned about something like that is because if you don't have to go through normal procurement rules, that means you can be a little bit more arbitrary or subjective, maybe not subjective, but you can kind of pick and choose who you want, so to speak, because you don't have to deal with the same rules. And to me, that could be adversely impacting minority contracting.
Understood. I respect that entirely. I think what I would say is I would point out our BEP numbers are the best probably the best of all agencies, and that would probably be, you know, as the opportunity presents itself, I think we would definitely be able to try to continue that no matter what type of procurement that we're doing. But sometimes we actually don't have a lot of choices when it comes to the laboratory stuff, and so. We don't get to pick and choose. We only have like, hey, this is the only company that does this on planet Earth, you know, and we want to be able to try that. But we have to go through these procurement process, which essentially is for show, because it's going to come down to that one. Meanwhile, we have a backlog of DNA. Meanwhile, we have a backlog of drug toxicology. Meanwhile, we have a backlog of, you know, pick any of the forensics, and homicides and sexual assaults are waiting to get solved while we're navigating a procurement process which doesn't sort of fit the reality. And it's certainly not our intent to try to be, you know, improper or wily or you know, we still have ethical obligations and those prohibitions that would prevent us from doing that, even if we had the flexibility in terms of the procurement process.
Right, and as far as your numbers versus, I mean, CDB would say theirs the best. Tollway says they're the best. So, you know, not to get into that, there are ways to measure that we could do a deeper dive into. But that would be my concern, because does that mean you don't have to put out an RFP, or you do put one out, and again, you just don't have to walk it through the same way that other RFPs go? And you mentioned about certain equipment or things of that nature. Maybe a better way to answer that question for me, and whether or not other committee members want to see it or not, is I guess I'd like to see what you're talking about.
Well,
you know, what are those RFPs or products that you want to be exempt from the normal procurement process? Maybe that's a better way to ask
We
it.
will give you a detailed breakdown of what those are, and we can show you some of the timelines that we have struggled with, why this has been difficult. It has been a priority of this General Assembly for many years and multiple administrations to do better on the forensic turnaround time. Well, we're waiting for these things through a process that the answer is already there, and we're going through all these things because of a process that we think is arbitrary. At the end of the day, is arbitrary, as opposed to, you know, one based on the science or based on the need. We definitely can give you some more details about that. And look, we're asking it in the laboratory setting. we procure so many other things like all agencies do. We're just asking for in terms of the laboratory setting, and of course abide by the procurement process otherwise.
Well, I mean, like, if that's generally falls into the category of medical supplies, I mean, I know Black-owned medical supply companies. I'm just saying, so that's why I'd rather you tell me what you're seeking the exemption from, and then we can start the conversation from there. Thank you.
We will certainly get you some more specific examples. Happy to do that.
Thank you very much.
Were there others seeking questions, members? Okay, I got a few. Not that one. Your telecommunication line went up 6.3 million. What is that for?
Wait, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So that.
State your name for the record.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Michelle Dankoski.
Okay.
So that increase is made up of a lot of our STARCOM expenses. They're contractual in nature for a lot of them. Radio tower inspections, fee increases. It also includes our 10% do-it increase that we need to accommodate.
Well, we'll add to that one thing about STARCOM. This is something we've been in dialogue with the General Assembly with for several years. The Motorola ecosystem that is part of STARCOM and the need to upgrade those systems that Motorola is the provider of that equipment. The radio towers, the radios, some of those equipment are 20 years old, and this is something that we've been working over many years to try to get some allocation for. I know there's needs that are far greater than what is requested in this budget around the state, but this is the Illinois State Police portion of that. We have had a lot of success with LPRs, for example, and the license plate readers being able to help us connect the dots and be to respond to like a ag vehicular hijacking, and being able to pursue that but do it safely. And if we don't have the modern radio systems that we need, then the ability to do that effectively and safely is a concern. So the success we've had with the Motorola LPRs it works hand in hand with the needs for the upgrades for the Motorola STARCOM.
Okay, so just to be clear, your telecommunication line is where you have the upgrades for STARCOM and your radio equipment, correct?
It is both telecom and equipment in both of those.
Okay, because I was going to ask about that equipment line that went up substantially. You know, considering your audit findings said that you had, you had an audit finding over inadequate controls and missing equipment, and then you asked for a substantial increase in your equipment line of 88.5%. So I just want to be clear that the equipment is not going for something that you're going to lose, but is actually going toward these radio towers and radios and equipment, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And to that particular audit finding, some of those pieces of equipment that were identified in those previous audit findings, we have corrective action plans that have been put in place, and that may be 100% complete or close to being 100% complete, the corrective action plans there. But some of that equipment was from 20 years ago, and it was a repeat finding, and we're probably not going to find that old radio from 20 years ago, but it keeps showing up as an audit finding. But going forward, we have much stronger measures in place, and we take that very seriously.
Okay, thank you. And I will note for the record that your audit findings have decreased, so I appreciate that. So I didn't see where are the LPRs and the cameras in this particular budget?
So they are not in this budget. We do request funding for that, and as in previous budget cycles, it often is something that's addressed towards the end of the budget process, and maybe something that needs to be addressed in the BIMP, and in terms of where that might come from. It was not approved in this particular budget, but that is not to say that we believe that it won't be approved at some point. But we're here to talk with and work with the General Assembly to find some source for that is amenable to everyone everybody and helps balance the various needs. It is very much a priority. As you know, they're very highly effective, and we use them wisely, we use them judiciously, and it's a tool that is really helpful for public safety. So it is, you are correct, ma'am, it is not reflected in this budget, and so it is an open question, but we are requesting that funding.
Can I ask why it's not reflected in this budget? I mean, it would make it a lot easier for us if it was actually in a budget, other than trying to scramble with a bill or try to backfill it another way.
Understood. We did make the request. It was not approved in our budget through the GOMBI process, but with the asterisk being, we're going to try to find a way to figure it out. And that's where it sits with us today. I wish I had a better answer for you, and certainly we would like to have it all up front and addressed as in the manner that you're describing, but we recognize there was a lot of competing priorities, and we're here to try to find a solution.
Okay, can you give me the dollar amount that you're looking for LPR and the dollar amount that you are looking for cameras?
10 per year is what we would be needing to continue to gradually expand in the way we have. And now we're at the point, we have so many of them, and we've been in this program, the Tamara-Clayton Act, now going on 5 years, we have to repair and maintain the old ones. So that about 10 million a year is really our best estimate at this point, if we want to continue at the pace that we've done.
And that is for both LPRs and cameras?
They are one and the same. They are one and the same. Yes, ma'am.
And then my final question addresses the human rights complaints. There are 5 from FY25, 1 from FY26 so far. Can you talk about those, and will there be any next year? Because it just doesn't seem we can't get away from them.
Understood. We don't want to get any human rights complaints at all. That's what we strive for. We will say there are less this year. Without sort of violating the privacy of the individuals who've made those complaints, I can say to you, some of those are just without merit. There were things filed in sort of the wrong avenue for what their complaint might be, and it may have had nothing to do with human rights. But nonetheless, we're responsible for recording it, making a record of it, addressing it. Some of those may be tied to lawsuits that will be pending, and we are represented by the Attorney General's on those, and those will be resolved hopefully in an appropriate manner in a court of law, depending upon what the circumstances are. We take it seriously. Sometimes there's things that just being a big agency, someone's going to file a complaint, and it might land in that box.
Okay, thank you for that. And, I'm sorry, go ahead, Leader Cabello.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say the same thing I did to the last agency that was up here. Thank you for taking the time to come meet with our side of the aisle beforehand so we can get some of our questions answered. I do understand the need for radios. I do understand the need for the LPRs. And I do want to make sure that we point out you guys have done a fantastic job on clearing up a lot of this FOID stuff. So I know that the residents of the state of Illinois are very appreciative of that.
Thank you, sir. Our folks have worked very hard. Thank you.
Great. Yes, thank you. Your budgets are getting better. So just a final comment from me. I did notice there were several line item reductions, about $26 million worth. I appreciate that. But you are asking for new spending of $32 million. And for the record, I just got to throw some numbers out there because over the last 4 years, you've had an increase of $202 million. So your numbers are consistently going up. So we're getting into a place, where, obviously we totally support, our state police, this is public safety. So we definitely support everything that it is that you're trying to do, but we do want you to continue to look for efficiencies, while at the same time funding those things are absolutely critical. Making sure that we have the radios, making sure that we have, the license plate readers, the cameras. We know, and I believe a conversation that we had, that the number of highway shootings has dramatically decreased as a result of these things. So I want to make sure that we are funding those things that are going to help you to do your job that much easier.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Okay. Anything else from the committee? Okay, Leader Davis.
Thank you, Director. Just for clarification purposes, if I misquote you, please correct me. Sounds like you said just a little bit earlier that, and I think to Chair Mayfield's question, that you didn't put something in your budget request because it was rejected by the governor's office?
Sure. So every agency goes through a process of, we all have our big wish list. We all have things that we would, want right away up front. And they, of course, are being judicious and trying to be careful with what is prioritized and what is spent, forcing us to make some decisions, as everybody should. We should. We know there's not an unlimited